Hey everybody, welcome back to Tim Travels. It's your host Terry. Hope everybody's doing well. We are here in Mcdonough, Georgia today. We just dropped off up the road a little bit and we got a load. We're picking up late tonight, going north. It's a 3-stop load, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I want to tell you a little bit about Mcdonough, Georgia. In addition to having horrendous traffic, Mcdonough, Georgia has a distinction, because it's not the only town named Mcdonough, of being named after a very important, very significant naval hero, and that being Thomas Mcdonough Jr. Now, I say junior because Thomas Mcdonough Sr. was also a naval officer and a pretty well-known in his time. But his son, Thomas Mcdonough Jr., was he was one of what they called Preble's boys, and he served with Stephen Decatur in the Barbary Pirate Wars. And if you're not familiar with those, what happened was, in the early 1800s, during the Jefferson administration, like around 1803, there were these Barbary pirates on the north coast of Africa that would menace shipping coming and going in the Mediterranean. And the United States, the fledgling United States, as a small but growing country that had maritime interests and needs, we took a stand against the pirates. And in the Battle of Tripoli, which is of course memorialized in the Marine Corps hymn, "From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli," we fought an engagement with those Barbary pirates, and USS Tripoli is named after that engagement. And basically what we did is we said, hey, as sovereign nations, we're not going to allow ourselves to be victimized by pirates. Now, and let me say this about pirates, and I've always taught my kids this. Pirates, there are baseball teams named Pirates, and like the East Carolina Pirates. I'm a Navy guy, and pirates to me are just seaborne terrorists, okay? You saw the movie Captain Phillips, seaborne terrorists. And by the way, piracy is a big deal around the world. I once had a staff job at a destroyer squadron, and I used to, I was temporarily assigned there, but I used to read intel reports from around the world, and piracy is a big deal a lot of places. And so when you're like, oh, the Buccaneers, that's such a cool name, pirates, you fly the Jolly Roger flag, just fly an Al-Qaeda flag, okay? Because they're just seaborne terrorists, okay? That's my view, and that should be yours too. They're not cute. They're not fun. It's not a great name. Like, why don't we just name some sports team the Terrorists? Because they're scary, right? Anyway, that's my little rant on seaborne terrorism, on pirates. But anyway, Mcdonough then goes on to command the U.S. Navy flotilla that defeats the British in the Battle of Lake Champlain, which coupled with the Battle of Plattsburgh effectively ends the War of 1812. There's a ship named the Lake Champlain in honor of that battle. There have also been several ships named Mcdonough over the years. But a place that's near and dear to my heart was Mcdonough Hall at the Naval Academy, because I used to go over there and work out. I used to work out in Ricketts too, but there's a bunch of athletic facilities and stuff. Boxing ring is in Mcdonough Hall, etc. But the other thing that's really interesting about Mcdonough, Georgia, and all the other towns named Mcdonough, is they don't actually spell Mcdonough the same way Mcdonough spelled his own last name. So all these towns, it's spelled M-C-D-O-U-N-O-U-G-H. He spelled his name M-A-C-D-O-U-N-O-U-G-H. So weird, right? Like, they're gone, but they're honoring this guy. So anyway, go figure. But so that's a little bit of Mcdonough, Georgia history, naval history. This guy was a big deal. Seriously, he was a great naval officer. So, and by the way, he died at the age of 41 on a ship. So you know he was a lifer. Died over in Gibraltar, actually. So anyway, I titled this video, you know, try not to piss off your fleet manager. And here's why I mention that. For most drivers, fleet managers, driver managers are the only people that we deal with on a daily basis driving our trucks. They might not be the only people we deal with, but they're definitely the face of the company to us. So I had a situation that came up just a few minutes ago. So I got a pre-plan. I looked at it. It was a 2-stop load. It's going up to the northeast. I looked at it. Then I looked at the second message that always comes with it, and it basically is the proposed, you know, settlement amount. In other words, what am I going to get paid for hauling this load? So I'm like, yeah, that looks like a good load. So we do our depart call from the 90, and I was driving us over here to this truck stop. So then when I got over here, I started reading the messages. Well, I started reading the messages, and I realized that the 90 on the pre-plan has been changed to a different 90, but they've also added an 03 stop. So I'm like, okay, they added a stop, right? And there's a flat rate for stop pay. But the amount they were quoting me, the total amount of the load, was actually well, I shouldn't say significantly less. It was about $55 less, or actually 54. And here's why that's interesting. Because the amount should have gone up by $54, not down by $54. But what they did is they put an additional $54 in the stop pay, but decreased the line haul by $54. So now, first of all, that points up a couple of things. One is, when you get a quote, right, what you're ending up like getting paid should never come in less than that, generally speaking. But sometimes things get changed around, but it's not your fleet manager or your driver manager that's doing stuff like that, because they don't usually have the power to do that. It's sales, okay? And so, and the fleet manager just says, yeah, my guy, this driver or this truck will take this load, right? And he knows I get a pre-plan. If I don't reject it, then it, you know, if I don't say that pre-plan's bad, then they're going to send me the dispatch. Now I still can reject it, but rather than rejecting it outright, I just sent him a message. I'm like, hey man, how come I got an extra stop, but the aggregate of all the fuel surcharge, stop pay, line haul is lower? And then I said, here's what it should be. And so I didn't go off. I wasn't like, what do you think I am? You know, why are you so dumb? Why are you trying to screw me? I didn't do any of that. All I said was, hey, do you know what's up with this? And the thing is, right, like, I know from his response, he didn't see it. Like, he didn't know that they had quoted me that given me that lower second quote, even though they added work. So by just asking him, hey, what's going on with this, he is looking into it. And in many cases, like, my fleet manager kind of knows how I roll. He's probably going to tell him, look, this dude is not going to take less. You're going to have to pay him, you know, $54 more than the original aggregate quote, or he's not going to take the load. Now that may or may not be true, because it's still it would still be a pretty good load. It wouldn't be as good, but because this load paid, as originally quoted, paid more than $3 a mile, and it's going like from Georgia up the East Coast. So, you know, I mean, it's not like they're gonna, you know, it's not like I'm gonna get ripped off, but, you know, every penny counts, like Prime likes to tell you. So anyway, if you get in a situation where you're like, hey, somebody's trying to, you know, chisel me here, just take a step back. Now, let me qualify that, though. My fleet manager is a guy I always want to have a great relationship with, and I do. If it's a night dispatcher, I would still ask the question kind of in the same way. But the second I get any pushback, because a lot of times those guys, they don't really care. They don't care if you're happy. They don't care if, you know, they're not going to like spend any political capital, if you will, with sales over $100. But I would then push back, and I've had that situation where they just couldn't get it right, and they're like, oh, just take the load, we'll work it out. And I'm like, no. Because, you know, I look at the load, I look at that dispatch when I push the green button and I say, I'll accept this load. That's a contract. That's a contract. They made an offer and I accepted it. Okay? Offer and assent, basic contract law. So they must deliver. If they overquote it and I accept it, that's their problem. And I still expect to be paid the highest price you quoted me that I accepted. Okay? So, you know, that's the thing to keep in mind. Don't burn bridges unless you need to. But if you do, you know, just make sure you're right. And like I said, I don't know sales anything. I don't know those guys. I don't owe them anything. They don't owe me anything. It's for lack of a better term, it's an adversarial relationship. In other words, they're trying to get me to do something, but I got to make sure that I'm getting what I need. But that's not the same relationship I want to have with my fleet manager or driver manager. So just, you know, pick your battles wisely. If you do need to go to the mat, just make sure you're right. Just make sure that you're right, and make sure that it's not going to jeopardize things down the road. And every once in a while, you know, I see people getting angry about something, and I kind of feel like they're stepping over $1 to pick up a dime. And when you're out here and you're tired, and you know, because a lot of times you get stuff to do when you're tired. You get a dispatch, or you got to back into a really tight dock, or whatever it is, you're tired. And sometimes you're just like not physically tired, you're just fatigued from being on the road for a long time. It's really easy to get into, especially when you're exchanging messages and you're not talking to each other. So, you know, tone is lost too. So yeah, just take it easy at first. Don't fight until you really need to. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. And thanks for tuning in to Tim Travels. Man, we had 720 subscribers today, and then somebody quit on me. I don't know what happened there, but anyway, it's totally cool. If you haven't had a chance to watch the video I did on Gettysburg, if you like history at all, just watch that video. It's going to be different than stuff you've seen in the past. It's not going to be some giant overview. It's actually going to be stuff that's like you might not have heard before, and stuff that I look at, having been to that battlefield like a gazillion times, and having lived very near it, ridden my bike through there. I used to ride my bike through there. In fact, part of the battlefield, East Cavalry Field, I used to commute through every day. So anyway, if you haven't had a chance to look at that, please do. I think you'll find it interesting. So anyway, again, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Tim Travels. Bye.